Hey, what's up? It's Mai Yang from Mix in the Dark. Happy first day of March. I want to thank all of you for taking time to listen to our episodes this February as we remember our loved ones. It takes a lot of energy to write these stories, let alone stories of people who mean so much to us. I know it's not your typical Mix in the Dark scary stories, but I do appreciate your flexibility. I still have a few stories of loved ones, and they will get published as we keep going. Feel free to keep sending them in. Speaking of, as we move into March, I also want to let you know how much I appreciate you as listeners. We have been able to build connections to 40 other countries now. So shout outs to Australia, Canada, Germany, and of course the United States for keeping it consistent. Let's get into our story. This one is called The Grim Reaper. I have a story to share. I chose the title The Grim Reaper because it is what I can only fathom when thinking about folktales and American-based descriptions. Whether it is or not, I will let you decide. This is my father's story. In order to understand his background, you will need to know some history of the Hmong. The Hmong is a group of people who originated from China. Major uprisings such as the Miao Rebellion and Taiping Rebellion led the Chinese rulers to use the military to suppress minority groups such as the Hmong. This resulted in mass exodus or departure of the Hmong to other countries such as Laos, Burma, Thailand, and Vietnam. There is so much more history to this, but I will leave it for another episode. The Hmong is built off of 18 clans or groups of people. Each clan shares a family name. The family name became last names in adaptation to the Western culture. In 1985, General Vang Pao organized what's now called the Hmong 18 Council or Go Yi Sing with a goal of preserving Hmong cultures and working with Hmong families through a cultural court system. A leader from each clan is carefully chosen to serve their people. Each state has its own Hmong 18 Council, so its rules and values may differ. My father is a very well-respected person, not just within my family or clan, but throughout our state of California. He was a retired clan leader who once peaked at the highest respect at one time. There is a true saying that if anyone who was related to him and needed a place to rest, speak of his name, and the Hmong resident would open up their home in respect of my father's name. He retired being a clan leader sometime in the mid-2000s and lived life giving advice and guidance to current clan leaders. In late July of 2012, he suffered a severe stroke, his third and last. He was taken off the ventilator and brought home to be at peace before passing. This is when weird things started happening. Mind you, I'm not one to give much thought of the spiritual realm, although I do believe that there are spirits. At the time, I was an atheist, so you know where my thoughts stand. Sometime in the last week of July, we took my dad home. The nurses and doctors said he will be alive for no more than 2 days. Well, 2 days went on to 3 days, and now it's been close to a week before entering August. Family members have been visiting in and out, making sure that they get their last goodbye in before my father passes. We stayed up with my father, watching and monitoring to make sure he doesn't pass alone. On August 4th, 3 a.m., which is also the hour of the dead, my younger brother decided that he needed to take a smoke break. We were exhausted from staying by my father's side. He asked me to go outside to the front porch, and I followed him. We only had a few immediate family members left that night. My dad's house is located in the center of Sacramento, and some would call it the ghetto part of the north. There are no farms, nor farm animals, since city zones wouldn't allow it. On this side of my dad's house is a garden that he spends almost every day gardening. That's his favorite spot because of how relaxing it is. Attached on that one side of the house is a light that faces toward the garden. It has motion detectors, so it shines and turns on when someone moves. While my brother and I were outside smoking, we just reminisced of the old days with our father and sharing hunting stories and life in general. The city and the neighborhood was in a deep silence when suddenly an abrupt horse snorting sound pounced near the garden area. It triggered the lights. We glanced at each other in silence. My brother's eyes widened and his face dropped as we looked at each other, confused about what we heard. It could have just been us up at 4 a.m. and our minds playing tricks on us. I remembered my brother asked, "Did you hear that?" And I responded, "That sounded like a horse." He said, "It's probably someone's dog." We stayed silent for 2 or 3 minutes. Then both he and I convinced ourselves that it was just probably our state of mind. We were drained from staying up late the past couple of days. We continued our conversation. Right when my brother started his next sentence, an even louder horse snorting sound interrupted us. This time, it sounded like hooves pouncing. This triggered the light a second time. As soon as the light switched on, we can see dirt or dirt ashes in the vicinity where that horse snorting sound came from. All I can remember was my brother bolting toward the front door. I quickly followed. In the Western folktales, there is this thing who is neither ghost or god that travels around guiding souls of the dead to the afterlife. Depending on where you're from, the version of this story may be different. Some people name this thing the Grim Reaper or Death. The Grim Reaper rides on a white horse or comes in a carriage pulled by white horses to pick up these souls. In return, the Grim Reaper leaves a stone as a soul is collected. The interesting thing about all of this is that in the Hmong culture, when a person is passing, they may have dreams of riding a white horse or relatives riding white horses to guide them to the afterlife. These dreams usually occur before they die. The sun rose the next day on August 4th, 2012, 7 a.m. And surely enough, my father passed away on this day as if the Grim Reaper came by the night before to finally take his soul away. That day, lightning and thunder rumbled throughout the day. Mind you, this is August in California. The temperature is 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Lightning and thunder is very rare during this time. Many people came to the Hmong, and they stated that it is noticeably weird that lightning and thunder is rumbling fiercely the entire day. Remember, a Hmong is when a family gathers the nights before to plan and prepare for the funeral. Later that night, I went home after all the nightly preparation. I was exhausted. I laid in bed with my wife, who was deep into her sleep next to me. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep because of sadness and stress. We have one of those mirror sliding doors that I detached. I placed it next to our bed. Suddenly, my ear screeched like someone was scratching the mirror. I squirmed, not in fear, but because I couldn't bear the scratching sound. Even after it stopped, my ears reacted like someone was slowly playing in my eardrums. After some 15 minutes, the sound disappeared. I laid in silence with my eyes closed and assessed if my mind was normal or playing tricks. After an hour or so, I decided to just ignore whatever happened. To this day, I still haven't told my wife of that experience because at the time I was working the graveyard shift and I know she would not be able to stay home alone at night if I mentioned it. It was not too long after my dad was buried that my older brother told me that a shaman of the family told him the reason lightning and thunder roared on August 4th. And it was because of Ja and Sa, or dragon in the Lord of Thunder. They were waging war on who would be victorious to claim my dad's soul in their realm. Ultimately, Jia won. Whether this is true or not, everyone is entitled to their own beliefs, opinions, and/or translation of the weird occurrence. All of this may have just been the mind at work or a huge coincidence, but here is where things get a little stranger. My grandma, or my dad's mom, passed away August 4th, 1997. My dad passed away August 4th, 2012. My dad's younger brother passed away early August 2019. My dad's baby brother passed away last year, August 4th, 2020. On the day of my dad's baby brother's passing, it was also filled with lightning and thunder. I don't remember lightning and thunder as normal August weather while growing up here. It has only happened twice in my life, and it was during the passing of my dad and the passing of his baby brother. These dates are not made up. Call it what it is, but this is my story. Thank you for listening to Mix in the Dark. I'm your host, Ma Ying. Mix in the Dark podcast is available on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube, and Facebook. If you have any stories that you would like to share, please send it to mixinthedark@gmail.com.